I love the fall. It's the best time of year. The leaves start changing colors and crunch under your feet. The air gets cold and crisp, all signs that Halloween, my favorite holiday, is drawing near. To get in that autumn mood, I play creepy video games. Not jump scare games, mind you, the ones with more eerie vibes. And family-friendly Nintendo, unexpectedly, made the most haunting series of all time. It's your old pal Musty Justy here with Retroware, and I bet you can easily guess which franchise I'm talking about. The answer is, this legendary video game series is known for its spooky undertones and darker vibes. Yes, Justine.
Who is Princess Laurel, though?
Oh, sorry. Need to be more specific.
It's the Legend of Zelda and it's really rad. Those creatures from Ganon are pretty bad. Octoroks, Tektites, levers too. But with your help, our hero pulls through. Yeah, go Link, yeah, get Zelda. Awesome!
That's right, The Legend of Zelda. 45 or so games and spin-offs that seem like they're just colorful action-adventure puzzle games, but there's a darker side. A side that's been talked about to death. But I'm very interested in the franchise's unnerving atmosphere to get me in the mood for All Hallows Eve. We know Zelda went the hardest in the late 90s and early 2000s with the creepiness, but since the early days on the NES, there were always a lot of standout characters and moments. On the Golden Boy, you have skeletons, monstrous enemies, twisted trees, and rooms full of whiz robes shooting crap all over the place. Not really shiver-inducing, but the theming and color palette are very autumn.
Well, excuse me, princess.
The sequel also had an assortment of beastly baddies, but it also had scenes like the one with the invisible ghost in the final town. It's very unnerving, so it's getting close to what I'm talking about. Though this game probably has one of the most unsettling game over screens in the entire series, with the return of Ganon and everything just turning red. And you might notice I'm going by the release order here, not by the chronology, the fan-made one, or the stuff that was official later. Don't worry about that. A Link to the Past is where we start seeing the true glimpses of darkness, including an entire dark world. The NES games weren't this melancholy, and the stakes were never so high. Link's Awakening seems pretty fun and cutesy with the island setting, but from the opening shipwreck to everyone on the island disappearing at the end as Link awakes from his dream, it's kind of pessimistic. But these original 4 games are basically cheesy Halloween decorations, compared to the horror that was about to come out on the N64, that would probably disturb any child or adult.
Daily double.
Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, hands down the most haunting games in the entire franchise. From the monsters, to the soundtracks, to the aging, the feudal time travel, the creepy mask transformations, and the damn moon about to crash into the planet. Both games have a lot to take in, and are the most existential the series has ever been, and ever will be. Plus, the series now being in 3D gave us a literal new dimension of horror. Even the N64's limitations, like the foggy draw distance and jarring animations, really help push the atmosphere. And sure, there's a lot of scares in these games that range from tense to intense, but I wouldn't consider them jump scares like we're used to in movies, survival horror games, or The Simpsons. I'll go over a few disturbing examples from Ocarina first. You have the House of Skulltula, where greedy people were cursed into half-spider monsters. Some good nightmare fuel here. The Re-Deads are notoriously scary. They have zombie-like gaunt bodies, and they have a sunken-in, Shy Guy face thing going on. They leap on your back and start chomping on your head. Meow, meow, I want brains! You fight Dead Hand as both young Link and old Link in pretty messed up encounters. Just look at this guy, let alone all the disembodied hands popping up all around you. It's like they're coming out of a graveyard. The Shadow Temple in Ocarina is basically a torture dungeon that the good guys of Hyrule use against their enemies. The Sheikah people specifically, who work for the royal Hyrule family. Apparently they're a bunch of dickbags. So that's some of the stuff that stood out to me in Ocarina, but Majora's Mask is the pinnacle of scary shit in Zelda. When the quote-unquote happy mask guy gets pissed off and starts shaking Link like a baby that owes him money, that's rough. He's also the "you've met with a terrible fate, haven't you" guy. Oh, or when Link has to stop an alien invasion at Romani Ranch. And these flatwood monster-looking aliens have to be stopped. Or, well, shit hits the fan, fire in the sky style. Enter the Elegy of Emptiness, which is a song you can play that basically leaves a shell that's shaped like you, standing in place. It's whatever form you're currently in, but if you're just regular Link, you get this abomination. Just look at his dead eyes.
What are you doing?
Hmm?
What are you doing?
Nothing. Me? Just hanging around.
Lastly, I would say one of the spookiest scenes in Majora's Mask is with Pamela's father. The whole Icana Canyon area is full of death and morbid stuff. But then you tack on her dad transforming into one of those mummy monsters, and she has to deal with it. But this one ends on a nice note though, so, because she protected her father, unlike most zombie movies out there. The game also had a lot of terrible stuff happening to kids, from the stall children coming out at night, all the sorrow-filled children of the world awaiting their destruction, and of course Skull Kid and the Moon Children. I say leave them kids alone. Actually, I don't think the stall children are actually children. Whatever. These games really sparked the imagination of people for years to come. There's been a ton of creepypastas and rumors made up about the N64 games, like Link being dead the entire time, or the entire Ben Drowned series, which plays off the Elegy of Emptiness, in which some evil game cartridge results in people being haunted by a boy named Ben that drowned. But when I look up Ben Drowned images, I just get, this stuff? A far cry from another boy that drowned. I know there's a lot of stuff I didn't get to in the N64 games, but we gotta
keep on rolling, baby.
Then all this Game Boy stuff came out around the same time. Oracle of Seasons and Ages, Four Swords, Minish Cap, which all had their spooky moments, but it was nothing compared to the N64. Then, Nintendo's next system came out, the GameCube. Enter Wind Waker, with its very cartoony look. This seems like a big whoopsie-doodle for the horror atmosphere, but it delivered on a few creepy things, like the ghost ships, some bosses, and monsters like the Stalfos and returning Redeads. But then, bam! You already know what game I'm going to talk about next. The scariest one in the entire Zelda franchise. From 2006. That's right, it's freshly picked Tingle's Rosy Rupee Land, which was rated PEGI 12+ for sex and violence. What the hell is that man Tingle getting up to? Okay, jokes aside, it's Twilight Princess on the GameCube, the most goth game in the Zelda timeline. It's really the hot topic next to KB Toys at the mall. Oh, off topic, did you know that the Hot Topic at the Christiana Mall in Delaware used to be in the food court? Kinda weird, right? Anyway, Twilight Princess is probably the most spooky game on the GameCube as well, except for maybe Eternal Darkness.
May the rats eat your eyes!
Eternal Darkness. Well, that's just great.
The art style is darker and gloomier than the previous games. There's also the imp Midna, who has a pretty vocal fan base on DeviantArt. And of course Link turns into Wolf Link, who also has a pretty vocal furry fan base on DeviantArt. But here, I'll cite some in-game examples. After you defeat the Dark Insect Queen, you're treated to this cutscene of the Dark Interlopers. Link is vaporized, which mimics the return of Ganon death pose from Zelda 2. Then the scene just gets worse from there. Now, Blizetta's battle is surprising. She's super sweet the whole time you're in the dungeon, then the Mirror of Twilight corrupts her and she becomes a boss. However, this one does have a pleasant ending. There's the part where Ganondorf gets executed and sent to the Shadow Realm. But that's not as creepy as what happens with him and Zant. Zant's Camino ass just stares at the defeated Ganon. You get this really creepy neck crack, and bam! Ganon just goes white-eyed and just dies standing up. Spoiler alert, I guess. It's been out for a while, sorry. This makes the GameCube the ultimate autumn atmosphere system for playing Zelda games, as you can also play Ocarina and Majora on it with the Collector's Edition promotional disc, which is kinda jank, but it works. I'd have friends who would go in, pre-order something, get the disc, then cancel the pre-order a few days later, and then you just get to keep the disc. Those are some good times. Why does a GameCube have a handle on it anyway? I guess you can walk around with it, or like bring it to your friend's house, or maybe it's for some like kettlebell workout. I did read somewhere that apparently it helps you like put this up against your cabinet, you know, so it doesn't, the back of the system doesn't touch the edge of it because of the airflow, you know, and it also helps with like cable management to go right through that area. I'm not sure. So after Twilight Princess, a lot of other stuff happened. There were scary parts, but I don't want this video to be an hour long. I'm just gonna stick to the stuff that sticks out to me. Oh, and it probably should be known, I actually really like Spirit Tracks. So let's just follow the hero of time all the way into the future, or the past, with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. The Blood Moons in most of these newer games were fantastic. The atmosphere creepily shifts from whatever you were doing to a red onslaught of dangerous enemies reappearing. Let's shift to Tears of the Kingdom, where they did a fantastic job bringing back old enemies too, but making them even scarier. Like the Gibdos. They used to basically just be mummies, like my boy Mr. Mummy Pancake here. But in Tears, they have a re-dead look to them, which makes them even scarier. So basically re-deads and Gibdos are now like Mounds and Almond Joy. Slightly different, both disgusting. Okay, was I able to get you in the Halloween spirit yet? Cause I'm in Pennsylvania, and I'd say our area has some of the most haunted houses, hay rides, and spooky attractions per capita. So it's very easy to get my Halloween fix every year, even outside of gaming. However, if you aren't that lucky, I recommend firing up a Zelda game, most likely on the N64 or GameCube, and experience the dread for yourself. And speaking of dread, we can finally announce that Retroware will be publishing the Transylvania Adventure of Simon Quest.
You want it? It's yours, my friend, as long as you have enough rubies.
That's by our pal Programmancer, the man behind other games we've published like Dumpy and Bumpy and Prison City. We'll be making announcements in the coming months about it, or we might even stop by your local video game convention, so stay tuned. Welcome to the Black Void. May I recommend watching another video? We put one out about Nintendo game prices, or you could check out whatever YouTube decided to recommend.